Jagged Alliance 3 is a gritty, realistic, turn-based strategy game based on the franchise with roots going back as far as 1990, I think, like the first one released on MS-DOS. Half the people watching this video probably don't even know what that is. Over the years, it's had some turmoil. It's had more developers and publishers than I care to count. Under the current watchful eye of THQ Nordic, this is going to be the first in the main series of game, not a spin-off, since 1999. We were lucky enough to get 12 hours of hands-on gameplay footage to share with you guys. Obviously not the full 12 hours. I'm going to break down some of the game's best features so you guys can see what's coming ahead of this year's release. As I said before, we were able to play this game for about 12 hours. I've not played any of the previous Jagged Alliance games, neither those from the main series or the more recent spin-offs, so I'm approaching this very much as a new player. But I do have a lot of experience in the genre with the likes, Gears Tactics, XCOM 2, Wasteland 3, those kind of games. If you're familiar with those kind of turn-based strategy games, I assume you are, that's probably why you're watching this video, you're going to feel right at home here. Jagged Alliance 3 really sort of encapsulates that risky, turn-based, gritty style play made popular by those kind of games that Jagged Alliance did way back in the day, to be fair. But, managing your squad, keeping those Overwatch attacks going, the sort of core premise of the strategy stuff is all very familiar in today's environment, and it throws in a number of sort of core exciting elements that are quite fresh and quite innovative, so there's a lot to get excited about. You have been hired by the daughter of President LaFontaine, who was kidnapped, sending the land of Grand Chien into complete chaos as the Legion have all but taken over. You, as one of the Association of International Mercenaries, or AIM, hire a group of mercenaries to take Chien back. The game is split into two distinct sections. You have the tactical view and the satellite view. Now, the tactical view is the familiar combat-based stuff where you take your squad in, you complete a variety of different missions, and then you move on to the next area. The satellite view is where you'll do more of the management side of the game. This is where you see the movement of the Legion, the enemy troops, where you command your squads, tell them where to go, you take control of various mines to increase your income, all sorts of different things, and we're going to dive into the satellite view first. There is a lot to take in this particular aspect of the game. So I started off, I had like 3 or 4 mercenaries. I ended up getting up to 5. Each mercenary has their own list of skills, abilities, perks. Some of them have some issues, like my medic was claustrophobic. So when we went venturing into a cave, he was pretty bloody useless. And managing the mercs is sort of its own challenge. You have to make sure that the contracts don't expire, because if the contracts expire and you run out of money, they leave. So all the stuff you've spent upgrading them and getting their gear better, they take them with them too. The map control is an interesting aspect. So you can take over towns, which gives you access to different facilities. You can craft ammo, craft explosives, train local militia up to defend it against attacks from the Legion. You can scout the area to find new quests, repair your gear. There's a lot to do in this particular part of the game. And it's key. Like, I'm only, as I said, only about 12 hours in, and I'm sort of still struggling to keep my first squad of 5 mercs alive, because I keep running out of medical supplies. I keep going low on ammo. It's really gritty and quite realistic. It doesn't mean there's some save scumming. I've definitely reloaded it more than a few times. There are difficult ways you can whack that up and turn that off completely. But it's a really interesting mechanic, because you do have to defend the areas you've taken over. The Legion will be aggressive. They will try and counter your attacks and take areas from behind your lines. I did manage to capture a couple of diamond mines, which definitely increased my income. I was getting about 2,000 a day at that point. So I was able to sort of keep my guys going. You do have to deal with tiredness. They can get exhausted if you travel too far. Every time you sort of assign them to do a job, you have to wait a bit of time. So it's really quite a living, breathing environment, and one you really have to keep on top of. Otherwise, you'll end up losing your mercs, you'll lose important territory. It's a good part of the game, and one I'm definitely looking forward to exploring when the full game is released. So that's the majority of the satellite view stuff we were able to get to. I definitely look forward to being able to run multiple squads, sort of spreading out across the island a bit more. That's going to be a lot of fun. So if we dive into the tactical view, this is the more familiar stuff where you're inside a mission, you're exploring towns, that kind of stuff. And there's quite a heavy RPG influence in this one. Whereas sort of XCOM, you go in and it's a guaranteed fight and you move on. This one, you'll go in and yes, there will be a fight, but you'll have NPCs that you can speak to, dialogue choices. Like very early on, I found someone in the jungle. I told him he could live because I thought he was a good guy. I ended up encountering him later. He jumped me with a bunch of Legion guys and killed one of my dudes. So it's pretty brutal. So it does have quite a heavy inspiration from the RPG genre, where you do have choices and consequences that actually make a difference. As you're exploring certain missions, you'll find intel, which increases your loot rewards and that kind of stuff, or unlocks a new operation somewhere so you can reveal more about the enemy's movements. It's the combination of these three aspects: the satellite view, micromanaging your mercenaries and keeping control of your environment; the tactical view, which is great strategy turn-based combat; and then the RPG elements of the choices and consequences and decisions. It comes together to make it feel fresh and unique, and definitely one I'm looking forward to exploring further once the game is released. We don't have a release date yet. 2023 is all that we know. It's coming soon on Steam. As I said, we didn't get a chance to sample the co-op, which I think would completely blow this game wide open. But that's sort of the core breakdown of all the features and mechanics we saw in our first 12 hours of play. If you do have any specific questions on the game, do post a comment below. We'll read them all and get back to you if we can. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care now.